So we have a lot of people joining in right now. We're going to get started in just a minute. So I'm going to pause for just a minute and let the rest of the people come into the call today. But if you could put your video on so we can see you, that's a great way for us to network. And so put your video on, drop your area that you're from in the chat and your industry. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Alan. We see you calling in from Arizona. Well, we've got the way southeast and the way west surprise in Queen Creek in the house today. I love that we get to talk to people from all over Arizona and all over the United States in these calls. Good morning, Mariah from Beaverton, Oregon. Oh, that's up by, I've been up there a couple times. It's great. I'm so glad you're here. All right, we have people joining us. We're going to give just another minute. We will also be going out on Facebook Live. This will be videoed, and so you can catch it later out on our Facebook group, and we'll also have it on our homepage. So you are welcome to take notes today, but this will also be available later, not only through the Facebook and the video, but also through a blog that we're putting together. So the content will be here as well. All right. So we are going to get started. Good morning. Glad to have you all here. Go ahead and, if you haven't yet, drop your name or drop your area that you're from, where you're calling in from, and your industry. So Gina, good morning. I see you're calling in from Arizona. Welcome. Glad to have you here. So as we get started today, I'm gonna hand it over to Sheila for just a moment to talk through some of the tech stuff.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Sheila Colum, and I'm just trying to make sure everything works in the background. So far, so good. If you are having any trouble with your sound, first check your system sound settings. And if you're still having trouble, you can call Diane. She's at 480-442-5806, and she can help you. So we are trying to do as many of the components as we can from our live events here on Zoom. And the way that you can help us do that is to be active in the chat. If you're not ready for video, I get it, but we would love to see your face if you're ready for video today. But if not, at least please just be talking in the chat and engaging with other people. Tell us, like you said, like Jessica said, where you're calling from, what you're looking for. You can chat to individual people or to the whole group. That's up to you. And if you want, you can play with how this session is displayed on your device. Whether you're on a tablet or computer or phone, you have some options. You'll have some video view options. You can kind of control how the pictures of the people are displayed. If you see at the top of your video screen, the little bars and things, you can play with that. So enjoy.
All right, welcome. All right, we see more people hopping on. Good morning, good morning. If you are on Facebook, we see a couple people that have commented having a little bit of an issue on Zoom. So you are welcome to launch on Facebook, but our Zoom is live, it's working. So go out, open up another browser and try and put the link in again. So welcome. We are excited to have Cary Pfeffer here this morning, and he is going to do genuine connections in the virtual world. Then we get to hear from three super busy recruiters today and people in talent acquisition and HR. So Roger Adams from CBS, Dennis Barasano from Randstad, and Ed Schomer from DES. And then we'll close it out that last 10 minutes or so with some content for you guys and some additional opportunities to connect one-on-one with coaches and some additional resources. I also want to mention to you, feel free in our chat today to message people. You can do that privately. You can do that to the whole group. Anything you can do to create that network, create that networking opportunity while we're in this virtual world right now. In the comments in the chat also, if you go out and get your LinkedIn URL, you can put that in the chat, and that way we can all connect with you. We can connect with each other. So you just go out to your LinkedIn profile and get to your profile page, and on the top, the URL that's in the browser, that's your URL. So you will be able to just copy that and bring it over. And again, if you're just hopping on, put in the comments your location and your industry and job type that you're looking for. So welcome again. I would like to introduce Cary Pfeffer. He is from top executives and political leaders to television personalities and sports legends. Cary Pfeffer has provided direction and advice to make sure each of them is better at telling their story. For 16 years, Cary has run his Phoenix-based firm, ClearCom Consulting. Before opening his consulting practice, he spent more than 20 years as a news reporter and anchor, listening to newsmakers and everyday people tell their stories. Storytelling is so important to Cary that he wrote an award-winning book designed to help people tell their story. There's not an app for that. Chronicles strategies and approaches anyone can use to connect. In Cary's world, when we are at our best, we connect. So please help me welcome Cary Pfeffer. Good morning.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it, Jessica. For 20 years, I ended up doing exactly this for a living, staring into a camera. Now, the setup may have been a little bit different and the particulars may have been a little more specific to the news business. But what I want to talk about today is really how those skills, as well as all the work that I've learned in the years since then as a consultant, working with people and helping them tell their story, how that same set of principles can be applied to what's going on today and the realities of what we're dealing with today. And that's really what I've gotten a chance to learn just over the last few months. But also, it's also important to understand that there are some things that remain universal. We just need to adjust them slightly when we're in this situation and we're remotely connecting with people, or we're trying to come up with imaginative ways to really stay connected or to build our network and to be able to have people know our story. The more people who know your story, the more likely it is that you'll be able to make those connections that ultimately result in what your next opportunity will be. This is something that I'm super passionate about, and I so much appreciate Jessica and Sheila and the people from Career Connectors in this work. This is a similar work that I'm dedicated to at Scottsdale Bible Church. I had something called the Career Assistance Ministry. Helping people tell their story and helping people find that next opportunity is something that I very much feel I can be helpful with. There's plenty of things that I don't have a skill set for, but this is something that I try to share. And so that's what I'm looking forward to. I don't want to waste your time. I want to make sure that these are really great practical suggestions, things that can make this work for you and make sure that you're utilizing all these tools in the new world in the very best way, but also understanding that there's still that person-to-person connection that's super important, maybe even more important today than ever. And so let's get started. And I start with what's called the rules of the road, because I think it's important to lay out a little bit of the reality around technology, as well as the reality of what it is that we face in doing this and in making sure that we understand what we're about. So the platform must be second nature. In other words, if you're getting a chance to meet somebody and doing this, or doing a job interview, or somehow connecting through these tools, and I think there'll just be way more of that in the future, no matter what happens with COVID-19, the reality is the world has changed, and that these tools now become so much more a part of this process. So what that means is this stuff has to be second nature. And I can sense probably that within our group today, there are people who are like, listen, this is just not my thing. Sorry, just not my thing. And I get that, but I wouldn't want you to miss out because you're saying, that's not me. That's not what I do. So, be able to play with it, do things where the stakes are not high, have a get together with family members, and start to understand that platform so it does become second nature. Because when it does become second nature, your credibility increases, your flexibility increases, your ability to really get these things done and connect with people increases. So that's the goal behind that, and that's what makes the difference there. So let me make sure that, there we go. a couple of other additional things to keep in mind. I always say get there early. In other words, just as if you were going to an event or going for a job interview, get there early, have that sense. So for today, I was making sure that for a half an hour before we all got together, I was prepping for this. I was getting ready just like you would in an in-person meeting, and utilize all of those things. Address up front the fact that there could be technical lapses, and you heard that today from Jessica. You know that that kind of stuff can happen, and it's okay. And it becomes even more okay if you're saying, hey, listen, I'm still new, or I've noticed some glitches with audio or video or this. If you address it up front, it suddenly becomes far less of a deal and sort of takes it out of the discussion process, which is a good thing. You don't want to have the technology get in the way of the process. And then lastly, I'm sorry, I just got out. Speaking of technical stuff, what's the comfort level of the folks who are there? In other words, understanding that and making sure that that's part of what it is that you understand. So if you're, for example, meeting with somebody who does this all day long and you don't, you want to know that and make sure that you've raised your IQ a bit around these things. If the person that you're connecting with doesn't feel as comfortable, it's okay as well, but sort of understand that as much as you can. And it's not possible to have perfect knowledge around all these things, but that's where you want to go so that you understand, okay, where are we? Are we meeting in a good spot here? And what is their comfort level? Because that again helps you establish those connections, put the technology as a secondary factor in this, and really get to a place where you can feel comfortable. And ultimately, it's about maintaining and connecting and being able to do the things that we'd still be doing if we were regularly doing this kind of stuff together. So that's the rules of the road. Now, the next thing that I'm talking about is looking your very best. And you might say, well, that seems like it's a little bit too much of an emphasis on, you know, the TV stuff or vanity or being fancy about it. And it's not. Understand that when I put a jacket on today, even though I'm, you know, standing in a house and not in front of an audience, I'm showing respect for you. And it's the same thing for any of the stuff that I'm about to mention. This is about showing respect for the people that you're connecting with. So there are ways for you to do that and communicate things without even saying something. It's that unspoken message that you deliver, increasing your credibility, underlining your experience, your knowledge, your background. All of that stuff is hugely important. And that's why I talk about this stuff. It's, again, not about vanity or being fancy. So here are some stuff to talk about. First impressions still count. The reason that, you know, I actually spend a little bit of time trying to get this stuff right. In other words, making sure that the lighting works in your favor. Don't have a light gushing in from the side. And I'm not going to go into a lot of technical stuff today, but just move your device around, whether it's your phone, your laptop, whatever it is you're using. Move it around until you look the best you can look under the circumstances that you're in. I get it. Sometimes people are doing this from their car. They're doing it, you know, in an office with neon lights or fluorescent lights, rather, you know, I mean, just not perfect circumstances. Natural light works best, but just try to figure out a way so that that lighting works for you. Frame yourself correctly. And again, remember that you don't want to be this person, right? You don't want to be this person over here, just kind of like, hi, I'm over here. You're not getting your point across. You're not coming across as well as you need to, because this is a remote experience, for example, in so many times connecting with people this way, that it's important to understand. Frame yourself, be there, be present. They want to see the light in your eyes. They want to see that you're connected and that you're really there with them. And that, again, is that credibility building, personal connection that makes a difference. People say what to wear. Dark, solid colors generally work best. And that's why I'm wearing what I'm wearing today. In other words, don't wear something that's got a really tight pattern. You might notice that the cameras that are on laptops or on phones oftentimes can't process stripes that are really close together. It pulsates, it distracts. So wear something that you feel great in, but also something that is that you're going to come across best. And you might say, well, every one of these meetings, I'm not in a job interview, or I'm still working at my current job. Right. But if you're showing up in your PJs and barely paying attention and and seem distracted and are looking at your phone, then when they're thinking about who it is they might cut, you might end up on that list. And that might seem harsh, but that's the reality. In other words, being present, being professional, and staying connected is really a part of that process. And when you're thinking about the fact that the reality of layoffs and job changes and all of that stuff is heightened during this period, you want to come across your best anytime you're in these circumstances and make sure that you're using all of this stuff to your favor. Bottom line, you're on. You're on, and you understand that the camera's view does make a difference. So what's in the background, make sure it's not distracting, make sure that your lighting is helping you, all those little things. What I've done here today is tried to lift, I'm standing, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second because it does make a difference. What I've tried to do is raise up my laptop so that it's really more on eye level. You don't want to have that situation where you're completely looking down the whole time, or that it's not working in your favor as far as that's concerned. So all of those things end up being important, and it makes a difference when you're trying to connect, when you're trying to make sure that you come across as well as possible in these times. So speaking your very best. Every conversation should have a plan. So I talked about looking your very best. Now we're talking about speaking your very best. Anytime, whether you're connecting with somebody now that's in Arizona, for example, some of the places are opening up and we're getting back to some degree of normal, but understand that every conversation should have a plan ahead of time, especially when it's a circumstance where you really want to make sure you're coming across as well as possible. So here are some rules of the road as far as that's concerned. This I cannot overemphasize. When you listen, and you listen well, and you even talk about the fact that listening is one of your values, you've already set yourself apart from other people. Many times when we're in job search mode or we're worried or nervous, we end up speaking more than we should and not listening enough. And that is really one of the keys to helping you stand out from the crowd. It might seem counterintuitive, and as a matter of fact, in some of these circumstances, because it's like, well, no, I got to tell my story. I need to, oh my God, I got bills to pay. I get that. But if you come across as the person who cannot listen or isn't valuing that skill, oftentimes that's one of the things that employers are really, really looking for. So not only demonstrating that you listen, but also talking about the fact that you listen. I was just working with a couple of folks with a client. They were having a little bit of an issue, and I was brought in to help with that communication process, right? And for both of the individuals that were having a little bit of their heads butting kind of a circumstance, the first thing I said in the first meeting that I had with them is, I'm here to listen. And it's something that most people don't express. And that's why I make it the first thing on the list as far as speaking your very best, because it's so few times is understood, and it is a great card to play in understanding how to really connect with people and have them understand you as well. Next thing, what are your messages? You should always go into any important conversation with, okay, these are the 2 or 3 things I'm hoping to get across. And it should never be more than that, because less is more. People's time is extremely valuable. And so understanding that, valuing that, and just saying, hey, listen, I get it. Here is, if you got a minute, here are the 2 quick things that I think are important. Here are the 2 quick things that I bring to the table. Here are the things that I think are most important, all of that stuff. And in a minute, I'll talk about what you can have as part of your elevator pitch to make sure that that gets covered well. Because what you want to demonstrate is that you're efficient when you're telling people stories, because the reality of meeting in the break room or having a casual conversation in the hallway is going to be lessened, especially in the near term. So that means regular meetings and regular messages are going to have to be important and sharply focused, I think, sharply focused in a way that shows that you have thought this through, as opposed to the sort of meandering sort of thing. Again, when people are trying to figure out who do I want on my team, they're going to want people oftentimes who are pretty focused, not folks who are taking a lot of time to sort through their thoughts. So that's why I make a big deal out of that. Next thing on the list, And it really plays into what I've been talking about. Deliver those messages succinctly. In other words, oftentimes when you have your message pretty clear in your head, you're then able to deliver it in a way that really shows respect for everybody else in the room. And whether that room is actual a physical presence or this kind of a virtual setting, being able to do that and doing it well speaks well for you, and therefore, again, underlines your importance. Same thing for a job interview process. Your ability to, it's a little bit of a test. A job interview is, I'll give them some rope and let's see what they do with it. And your ability to demonstrate that you've thought this through, you can be strategic and you can be succinct, really does make a difference. Bottom line, make it a quality experience. That is, if you're thinking of it that way from beginning to end, from the way you're dressed through everything else that you say, your ability to make genuine connections in this world is really, really valuable. So I'm going to take a second here. One of the things that I try to do when I'm doing this kind of a meeting is, and I'll talk more about this in just a second, is to try to take a break for a second. And what I'm going to do is quickly glance through the chat. And Jessica, if there's anything I'm forgetting or need to get to, but let me just glance through the chat for just a second, just so I have a sense of what people are sharing and what's out there and that sort of thing. And so that I just have a feel.
Yeah, if you have any questions for Cary, have any discussion points, feel free to drop them in the chat, and he will continue to address them as the talk goes on today. Same thing with our hiring companies that come on.
Absolutely. Good. Thank you. Let me just take another second to look through that stuff. Yeah, folks from all over really appreciate that this additional perspective is coming in with folks coming in from different places. That's a great value. And one of the things that we're able to do, the church that I attend, we now have folks joining from all over the country because they're able to, where that would never be possible if we were trying to do this in our traditional sense. So there really are some upsides. I just want to address one other quick thing as an aside, and I appreciate the comments that people are putting into the chat. Have you woken up and just kind of feeling like you're lost your energy or have been exasperated? My wife has a regular habit of saying, I'm so mad at COVID-19. Yes, exactly. We're just so exasperated at times, and it's okay. I guess that's one of the most important messages I want to deliver today, is that to be exasperated. I've talked to my kids about this. My kids are all adults. They're all in the work world. And I just have said to each of them, listen, those days are absolutely going to happen. And your transparency about that is really a great quality as well, I think. Now, that may not be the first thing. I wouldn't lead with it, but just being able to be real about how difficult this is or the challenges that you felt, I think that can be a terrific thing and a real, again, you'll figure it out for the right setting and in the right circumstance. But I think being able to be transparent about those kinds of things is a real value. All right, let's keep on rolling here. Your very best follow-up. So you're looking your best message, and now let's talk about your best follow-up, because building genuine relationships, no matter what the circumstance, even if it's through a Zoom call, it still comes down to the details that you're able to do and the way you're able to handle yourself. So here's some action items for you as when you're thinking about follow-up. And I'm not pretending that I've reinvented the world here. What these are in many cases are just reminders for you, or a roadmap for you to sort of refresh yourself on some of this stuff. That's my goal. And I really hope that some of this stuff can be a valuable reminder, even though it's not the first time you've heard it. Outline next steps as the meeting wraps up. I mean, that's an obvious, but as you're going to hear in just a minute when I talk through some of the meeting suggestions, don't overlook those things because you're excited about just having the meeting. Many times we forget about that. It also helps open the door or helps you judge what next steps might be by trying to get to that point and having an opportunity to do it. I think most people expect that that's going to happen. And so understanding it and valuing it is a very good thing. A thank you is still important. And I think, and we've talked about this in past times that I've talked with Career Connectors groups, I think a written thank you has even more power today, and especially today. understanding the value of that and taking the time with the written thank you. And when I receive one still to this day, it means something. And I think you probably feel that very same way. So those little details remain important, and then remain consistent in your approach. In other words, if you're able to really turn it on in a conversation, but then that's really not how you are, and other people don't know you to be a person who's attentive, has a great attention to detail, who really is a good listener. If that's not really who you are, it's going to come back to bite you, because your reference points might not match, or other people who have conversations about you. So that's why I say, I think today, even more so, remaining consistent in your approach. Even if you're turning over a new leaf and trying to be a little bit more disciplined around some of this stuff, is an extremely important thing. And there's some great value in it as well. So that is why I talk about that in follow-up. So I think those kinds of things end up being as important as anything else and head you in the right direction. All right, quick thing about interview tips and tricks, because the reality is, again, spend a lot of time looking into cameras for a living. And if you're doing that and following through on that, or having this as any part of the process, make sure you're doing it as well as possible. You might wonder, like, why is the guy wearing a headset? I'm in a room with not a lot of other extra noise, but it does make a difference. Your sound quality makes a difference, because it's like this catches your speech patterns right here. A general microphone picks up all of the echoey stuff that's going on in your room. So that's why, even if you just have earbuds with a microphone on it that you got with an old cell phone or whatever, and you can plug it into your device, anything you can do that clarifies your sound helps bring you closer to the person that you're talking with. So that does make a difference as well. So a few other things for interview tips and tricks. What's your basic pitch? In other words, you should always have one. And the reality is that it should go something like this: your name, your expertise, why you can make a difference here. And then a quick personal note. People and their storytelling ability is really also one of the major keys to how we connect. Why? Because people remember stories. So I'll just do a quick demo on my personal story, or what my quick elevator pitch would be, and then you can just fill in the blank with the stuff that works for you. Hey, my name's Cary Pfeffer. What I do is help people with high stakes and high value speeches or presentations, making sure that they put their story out there in the very best way possible. It's really what I've been doing all of my life. I was a news reporter for many years. Storytelling and making sure that people tell that story as well as possible is what I love to do, is why I was put on this planet. Quick story: the people who are currently finishing up the Rams-Chargers football stadium, that was my team. In other words, it was my job to coach that team, so that when they were being interviewed with the owner of the Rams, they ended up getting that job. Now it's a $4 billion piece of business that's being finished up there in Los Angeles right now. I love doing my work if I can be helpful. Bada boom, that's it. It's name, expertise, why do you do it? And then a quick story, something that'll stick in their heads about what it is that you do. It doesn't have to be flashy. I mean, the Rams Stadium is one of the flashiest projects I worked on in the last couple of years, so it sticks out, but it doesn't have to be that. Maybe it's a personal story. Maybe it's a family connection, whatever it is, just have that and have it be ready, so that you can deliver that just that succinctly. It doesn't have to be any longer than that. In fact, I would suggest that it shouldn't be any longer than that. Next thing, practice. And you might say, practice, what are you talking about? Practice on this, because you have a camera right there in your hand. So it's so important that you see what you look like and that you hear what you look like as you go through this process, because that helps you understand what anyone who's hearing it is going to be capturing. A lot of times we have a much more serious look on our face than we realize. So we might be saying something like, I'm really excited about the work that I do, and it's my passion. It's what gets me up in the morning. If you're saying all of that with this like funeral director's look on your face, nobody's going to believe it because it just is not succinct. It doesn't connect. So using your camera, using your phone, recording your pitch and making sure that you have your basic story down and that you understand how it's heard by others is hugely important. And it does make the difference as you try to make a connection with other people. Last thing, and this is the final chapter in my book, is smile. And that might seem like a cliche, but I have to tell you, it's the #1 piece of advice I end up having to give to senior executives and CEOs. By the way, can you just smile a little bit when you deliver that message? And here's what I mean. It's not about the game show host smile. It's not about this over-the-top, ridiculous, sort of maniacal smile. What I mean is have that pleasant look on your face. Have that pleasant look on your face, and it makes a huge difference. And not having it there communicates just the opposite and heads you in a direction that you probably don't want to go. So, all right, telephone tips and tricks. This is about so much of this stuff obviously is now even more pushed into the direction of telephone calls as well, or you're doing that. I always make sure that I'm standing, and standing makes a difference because your diaphragm, your breathing, all of that stuff is, your energy level is better when you stand. And so that ends up being a little thing that makes a difference. Second thing, are you using headphones? Again, not only is it help with this, but what's the reality? The reality is we're doing this stuff in a house where there's dogs and kids and other stuff going on. Your headphone also helps you control that sound. You may not have a door that you can close so that you can absolutely shut out the world. And so headphones help with that. It just lessens the distractions that can be happening on the outside when you're on an important telephone call. I have a sign on the door in the room that I'm in right now that says, "I'm on a video call, please don't come in." So the realities impact all of us, no doubt about it. This is a little tip and trick that I don't know how many times I've had to use this with folks. People will write out some detailed notes, things that are really important to them, but they'll write it in tiny font. Then they're in the middle of the conversation and they're like, okay, yeah, I was just going to get to that. And they're trying to figure it out. Make some big notes with big font, or write it big, or do something so that all you have to do is glance at it and boom, you've got it. So that you're not searching, you're not going to page 4 of your notes and searching through tiny little print. Make big notes, just hit the high points and use that as your roadmap. And ultimately you're going to be in a place where you're nice and clear and all of that stuff works in your favor. Last thing, energy level, because this is hugely important. Some people think, well, I guess being successful in these circumstances, like being, Tony Robbins or somebody, like I got to be Oprah Winfrey, I got to be Tony Robbins, I got to be whoever. No, here's the thing that I always say to folks. What are you like when you're at your best? In other words, when you're the most excited, you're the most engaged. People have all sorts of different personalities. They're really over the top, comfortable in front of an audience kind of people. And then there are folks who are much more understated. But even those folks who are understated, there are times when they're excited about something. What are they like when they're engaged and really, and then what you do is whatever it is when you're at your best energy level, try to get to that place when it's an important conversation. Try to call upon that when it's important conversation, because that will make a difference. That will get you to that place where your energy level and all of those things really do make that difference. So those are the things that can help you be real. And when we're talking about making genuine connections, it's not about being somebody else, because that'll never work. It's not you, and we don't want that. We want you, but we want you at your best. And so to think of it in those terms, I think really ends up being the best advice that I can give you. Last couple of notes here. Adopt a meeting culture. And then what I mean by that is if you're the person who's running the meeting, or you're the person who's looked to for some of the direction, either you're the person who does it or find somebody who has that skill set. It's not about always the CEO running the meeting, because maybe that's not their number one skill set. Figure out who it is and pick the right person to lead. That's a hugely important thing, I think, if you're part of a meeting or that's what you're doing at work. The 10-minute check-in, you saw me demonstrate that just a minute ago when I stopped, took a look over the chat, that sort of thing. What I like to do is take a few breaks, take a breath. If there was a smaller group, what we do is I just stop and you could, just ask questions on your microphone. It's a little bit more difficult when we've got, a bigger group in the 60s, probably more. But understand that having that 10-minute break, getting a chance to find out what's going on, figuring out if there are any technical issues that, need to be addressed, all that sort of thing makes a difference. The agenda rules. In other words, making sure that there's that roadmap to follow. Obvious, but at the same time, I've been amazed at how many times people don't have an agenda, don't have that focus, and aren't heading all in the same direction all the time, and that really does make a difference. Last thing that I've got here, I'll put this in the chat as well, but this is how you can reach me. My email, my Twitter handle, my book website, if you're interested in learning more about the book. Again, when I think about genuine connections, I think about it in a number of different levels, and that's what I've tried to demonstrate for you today. This is about realizing that you've got to use the technology to your advantage, that respecting your audience is about how you come across. So making sure you keep that in mind. It's not about being fancy or vain. It's really about understanding that respecting your audience is showing that you're going to be prepared and on top of things when you're there. Having a message that's really focused and getting to that and making sure that that's part of your game plan. Making sure that you're thinking through all of the ways that you can be helpful, including demonstrating that you're a good listener. Valuing the input of other people in the room and making sure that you're able to reflect that. And then again, using these tools as well as possible, having your quick pitch message clear, practicing it, making sure that you see what others see when you're delivering it, and thinking of your best self, making sure, maybe sometimes even being a bit vulnerable around that, making sure that you're getting your message across as clearly, as succinctly, and as in as understanding a way as possible really does make a huge difference. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it a great deal. And Jessica, I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah. Hey, Cary. Thank you. We have questions for you, and we have time also left. So one of the questions that came up is for somebody that's interviewing over, Zoom or is it acceptable to have some as to your home office? I switched over to my Career Connectors background. Obviously, that's pretty. What kind of backgrounds are appropriate?
Great question. So I would say that, like, for instance, the background that Jessica's using, if you have one that you can both feel comfortable about, that's reflective of your values, but also isn't distracting. I was prepping a team and they were preparing for a project, and what they did was put the project in the background for everybody who was on, in all these different locations. They all had sort of a uniform background. The problem was it wasn't the best quality. It was being used electronically, and it ended up being a bit of a distraction. In fact, I remember one of the presenters, when they smiled, the background started to be projected onto their teeth. So we actually had some fun with that and joked about it, but at the same time, to me, that felt like it was a distraction. So at the very least, if you're going to use something, make sure it is something that is, being used to your advantage. And if it in any way distracts or gets in the way of your message, or just seems a little bit more like a tool that is just being used as part of the sort of the tricks of the trade, probably not as valuable as it might seem. Yeah,
on an event like this, I love seeing people's backgrounds, because somebody, John, we were having a conversation, John Mellenfont, his background is from Greece today, the one he has. So it's beautiful. I'm like, that's where I want to be, I think, right now. So I think from a networking perspective, it's great to switch it up and have different backgrounds. Another question, do you have any specific tips or links on how to set up lighting and sound for Zoom meetings?
You bet. So again, I think it's important for, again, if it's going to be a really critical conversation for you to just experiment with headphones, because the sound side of it, the reality is the echoey stuff that happens in most offices or most rooms that we're using, people are, doing these meetings from their kitchen or their dining room or whatever, and the sound quality is just not great. You will stand out if you have good sound. And that's why I put an emphasis on that. And then as far as the camera, like I said, rather than going, like I spent a lot of time around cameras and microphones and all that stuff, rather than go into a long detailed explanation about lighting and, making sure your background is perfect and all that stuff, just simply move your device so that you realize, okay, yeah, the lighting, there's no window that's coming in, there's no other distraction. The general rule is make your best, most even light come in from on the other side of your camera. So in other words, it's showing up and illuminating you in a nice, even way. That's the goal. That's, in a perfect world, that's what you're going for. And when you're taking your device and trying to figure it out, that's what the end result is when you go, oh yeah, like that. So just the basics of photography are make sure that the light is illuminating from the front, the object that you want to have look best, and that's you. So it's about doing that and then not having anything in the background that's distracting. So yeah, paying attention to that stuff. I can't emphasize it enough. It's not, it's not you being vain or showy at all. It's really about understanding that. I see that, just in clicking through, some folks have the blinds pulled, which is, they've got a window in the background, but the blinds pulled. Exactly. Just understand the different uses of that light, or have a backdrop. Natural light, the reality is natural light really does help a lot, just because the sun is the best lighting tool as long as it's not direct sunlight.
That's good. Another one that came across, and I am really interested in your answer on this one. Where do you look? So,
oh, that's right.
Do you look in the, in the little camera? Do you look? How do you do that? But look at the gallery of people, the speaker. Where do you look?
Excellent question. And I can't believe that I forgot to talk about that, because if you saw Dr. Fauci yesterday, for example, he did most of his testimony going like this, and da-da-da-da, and I'm thinking, hey, doctor, we're over here. We're over here. We're not over there. So when you're talking to a group of people similar to this set of circumstances for me, I direct everything directly into that little pinhole that's at the top of your camera, your device, your, whatever it is, wherever the camera is, figure that out. And when you're talking to a group, the only way you can maintain eye contact with the group is not to look at the entire gallery, because you can't possibly maintain your eye contact with everyone at once, just like in a room. So the way you maintain your eye contact with everyone in the room is to look directly into that camera. And so that's going to be your most effective eye contact. And eye contact, still hugely important, even though we're just doing this electronically.
Great. Well, Kerry, I think that's all of the questions we have right now. I know you'll be here for a little while longer, and you please drop in the chat and take a look to see if anything else comes through. And we did also put the link in here. Julia put the link to your book in here. Julia, if you could put that in there one more time so it's at the bottom of the chat, that would be awesome. Thank you, Kerry. Thank you. You made me stand up during this talk, so I was like trying to move around.
Very good. Mission accomplished.
Yes, that's right. Thanks again. Okay, we are going to switch over now to our hiring companies, and we are excited to have Roger here today, Roger Adams from CVS. He's currently a store manager, a talent developer, and a regional recruitment partner for CVS. He's been involved in an executive management role in this arena for over a decade. He's a graduate of Minnesota State University with a BA in management operations, And in his spare time, Roger is on the Genron Foundation Board, which is a nonprofit that promotes alliance in addition to being an assistant scoutmaster with the Boy Scouts of America. So please help me welcome Roger to our event today. You there, Roger? Wonder where are you at?
It won't unmute.
Oh, there you are! Yay!
Hey guys, how we doing? Hold on, let me get in there one more time. I feel like I had to follow all those wonderful tips, and I'm like, how do I meet those standards? No pressure. So I am actually at work, so I'm going to do the first thing, which is social distancing at CVS. So this is my Mario mask, but I'm going to take it off for the rest of the presentation. But we're just having some fun with our senior day, guys. Just a quick introduction about myself, everyone. I've been with CVS for 6 years. I've been in the drugstore business for 20. I just wanted to introduce the whole group to some of the opportunities we are looking cross-platform across the industry. About a year and a half ago, we acquired the Aetna company, and CVS has now got the great distinction of being the 8th largest company in the US, and very pertinent to our current COVID crisis is we've been very agile in our mobility to adjust to this new normal. So everybody else that has unfortunately been furloughed or has been struggling to find opportunity, we went the other direction. And a month ago, we announced we were adding up to 50,000 additional staff members in our brick and mortar and across our platforms. We haven't hit those targets yet. We're still working on them. But I know that we have some outstanding talent that is on this call that may have never considered CVS. I'm just going to kind of go through some of the different divisions that are part of our business that many people don't even realize that we do. So obviously Aetna acquisition, before we purchased them, that was the 5th largest insurer in the US, and now they are a whole entity of CVS. So anyone with HR background, coding background, medical billing background, health and human services backgrounds, anybody that has touched pretty much insurance from the front end to the back end, we are looking for those talented individuals looking for a new opportunity, and that's across the platform through the Aetna Group. Right here in the Phoenix market, and I did see a lot of this Phoenix smiles on the chat bar, guys. We also have the Caremark, which is our PBM, also looking for outstanding opportunities and talent. And if you have some coding there, that's where we host our Scrum group, where we break our software for fun all day. But we also have our HR, our hiring division for the Western region is based out of their facility for all across the platform. My own son works there in procurement, part of our accounting side, works with SAP software, is in charge of about $32 million in billables. So that makes me nervous every day. He started as a supervisor in our stores, and they give him a lot of responsibility. So what we're looking for is not just the entry level. Obviously, that's the brick and mortar, and that's where I normally grab people from. We have 270 locations in Arizona, 9,000 locations nationwide. Obviously, we're looking for talent to come run our boxes, run our pharmacies. But we're also looking for those support stuffs, people with background. We have Quorum, that's our accounting facilities that do our medical billing, keeps us aligned with corporate facilities. We have CVS specialties, so if you have some infusion background or some nursing background, it also is part of our nursing home facility support centers. So we have agents that will do in-home visits with people that are checked out of hospitals in the 30-day window. So, hey, mom just got released, and our goal to save payers and the clients money and to take care of the patient is we do points of contact saying, well, this is what you're on for medication before you started. This is what they asked you to be on for the 2 weeks before you start your regular processes, because 1 in 5, unfortunately, Americans that leave the hospital end back up there within about 6 months. So our goal is to bring that cost curve down for consumers, for payers, for states, for government. We talk about trying to innovate care all the time, in a government process at the state, the local, and the national level. Well, CVS and the whole family of companies is trying to do the same thing, from local hubs, which we're installing in all our stores, where we're going to get a concierge-like service, to expanding immunization, to sending out blood pressure machines to our at-risk patients, to COVID wellness boxes for patients that have tested positive and are trying to stay at home and be healthy. We waived telemedicine fees for everyone so that they could talk to their doctors. They were free checkups. We're trying to bring that cost curve down, but we're also trying to innovate care, because the reality of the business is I could have you on a prescription for, for 17 years, 2 of them, that'd be great. I'd rather have that than have you on 17 prescriptions for 2 years and not have you as my patient anymore, be it in a medical, be it in a pharmacy, or just being in the store. So what we're looking for is people with a background, a talent with any of these opportunities. And my LinkedIn page is on the site. We started at 4. If you guys have direct questions or opportunities, I would like to have you go to jobs.cvs.com. It's right on our site. I set the link also. Go shopping through that. Currently, we have about 16,000 listed positions nationwide. I saw a lot of people from all over the business, from field management to regional support, call center operators. We kind of touch all aspects. And the one piece that I like to bring up with everybody is there's some job portability there. So if you're right here in Phoenix and you and your spouse are all of a sudden moving to Georgia because, well, that's where we're going, it's amazing the fact that all you have to do is call ahead when you get there and you land. We're there too. If you've ever been to a Target.
How many of those 16,000 are in the Phoenix area? Just curious.
Right now we are hiring, well, let me go through some of the platforms. In the store-to-store options, if you're looking brick and mortar, that'd be more of an entry level or retail management. We're looking at about 300 to 600 openings right now, and some inside baseball on this, and I have no problem sharing it. We are starting COVID testing in our drive-throughs. So that has started in wave 1. There'll be 3 waves by September. So we're probably adding between 70 to 120 hours of additional technician or medical background support to our pharmacies just to cover that volume. We're going to try to have 50,000 people tested for COVID in the state of Arizona by the end of the first month, and do so every month for the rest of the year. And that's partner with Department of Health and Human Services. That's also right here. Economic Security is helping us to reach out to some people, so it'll be covered under access. So that's brick and mortar. The PBM group, that would be over in Caremark. Their main facility and 2 remote buildings are in Scottsdale and 1 in Chandler. They're looking for another 150 to 200 people, mostly entry level. A couple Medicare Part D groups are looking for leads, and a bunch of coders and negotiators, a couple law positions. The Aetna group is adding about 300 to 500 positions through their development teams. We've written a lot of new business over the last 6 months. And they're adding a lot of entry-level and mid-level people there. So I could spend the next hour going through each of the roles. I want this kind of be a broad spectrum. If you find me on the LinkedIn side, I'd love to take a view of what you're looking for an opportunity, and that way it shoots you to the appropriate recruiter so we can distill it down so you're not applying to everything and anything. So I live on my LinkedIn as much as I do on my medias, guys. So if there's anything, you have questions, or, hey, that sounded like interesting, I never would have thought, CVS. Let me get you the appropriate group. And those of you out of Arizona, I've connected nationwide. I was in a recruitment group and have been for years now. So if you are outside of Phoenix market or the Western region, let me get you to the appropriate point of contact so you at least have a name to talk to. And help weed through that. We'd love to have that. And again, some of the greatest talent I've ever hired never thought to work for CVS. And then we had this little spiel about what we can do. All of a sudden, like, hey, I like that. And we're not going anywhere. The market has been rather unkind to most of us that have a 401k. But if you look at what our stock price is and the analysts and all the people looking at what we're doing and performing as a company, we're weathering this storm. So this new tomorrow that we're going to, I'm excited for it. And again, 20 years of drugstore, I'm passionate about this. I'm passionate about people, but it's amazing what we accomplish, and we're an innovative company. And I really would love to have a conversation with anyone and everyone about what opportunities we could provide for you guys. You could do 10 different jobs for a business that are completely different and work for us for 25 years. Why not? And we love sharing cross-platforms. So you could work for the CVS stores, brick and mortar, for 2 years, end up at the Caremark group for 1.5 years, move to New York and all of a sudden you're working out of the Aetna office in Rhode Island. There's so many opportunities in our business cross-platform, and there's nothing we love more than hiring somebody that's an internal candidate, understands the passion of the business, and we upskill them into a new role. We also do some full-time with us. We have reimbursement for educational credit and personal development up to $3,000. So that's not just schooling. If you want to do Walter P. Carey, How to Influence People, and your boss signs off on it, we take care of that. We have excellent benefits, very good insurance. This is just one of those opportunities where we can kind of get that name out, guys. So if you have questions, I will respond to participants. I'm getting a whole bunch of chats. Thank you, guys. Find me on LinkedIn too, and I'll try to individual to anybody. Does anybody have a live question or anything I can address besides that?
I had a quick question. Some of your positions, are they remote right now? Are you in the office? What's that look like?
Both. We actually have a large group of our Caremark, including my son, same thing, who is running from laptop. Case in point with him, his procurement group added 3 staff members in the last 30 days, one of which he is in charge of onboarding. So it's a peer-to-peer mentoring with a supervisor going on. They got a laptop to him. He's never actually stepped into one of our buildings. So he's done everything from his apartment and is onboarding through Zoom, Skype, and it's a learning process. And I think we all have to be agile in our processes, as we were just discussing about even our interviewing. This is the new corporate norm. Points of contacts. Our senior staff are not traveling nearly as much as they had, only in necessary. And our business is doing remote. And they are bringing some staff back in for critical, but I think even us as a business, a lot of these roles that were in an office setting may not go back to facilities even in the near term or long term. They might find that this was more productive. My son makes the comment that 2 out of 5 days a week he gets more work done because nobody's talking to him. So that's the reality that none of us ever really thought in this world. Like, wow, you're right. Having coffee at the water cooler and where are we going to lunch and all those conversations. Maybe this productivity, this hybrid, this may be more successful in the end. So we're all having gradual starts. Obviously, some of you here in Arizona know it. We're reopening for business all over the state. CVS, as far as our brick and mortar, never closed. So a lot of you that have been home, bored out of your minds and everything, I am not jealous, but there has not been that moment for us. We've been doing fire drills and 911s every day since it started with our doors open. So everybody's got their own cross to bear, I guess we can call it. But yeah, we are doing remotes too. Honestly, it's more of a where can we find an opportunity for you with your background and your development skills, anywhere from training and development of our field colleagues to HR. There are roles across our market.
Someone asked in the chat if there's any operations or manufacturing or distribution jobs.
There are not Phoenix, but we are the first, and I love that. Thank you. Wow, that was a lead. I love it. We are the first national retailer, and this was announced before COVID, so we'll see what happens, that has created a home dialysis machine that we own the complete patent in. So that was announced in the end of January, and we're going to start monitoring and sending this product out. So you do not have to go in for your dialysis treatment. It'll be an at-home service with our own manufacturing products. So that's a small group. It's about 15 people. They are East Coast. I believe they're Maryland, Boston, but I can look into that deeper. But they, it was FDA approved faster than anything we could have possibly imagined. It was something where we literally sent it in and we were like, oh, let's hope this works. And they gave us an approval on a fast track because it was so innovative. So we are doing that. We are also working and partnering through our apps and wearables, through blood pressure machines and third-party partners through our app, because as an innovation company, we want to make it so that through your healthcare, through your pharmaceuticals, all of that is going to be wired. We all realize that's where we're going, even if some of us are hesitant for it. We are developing wearable products and add-ons to those things. So there is hardware, software that goes with it. I am familiar with where it is and the press releasings. I am not familiar with the people that are in charge of it, but I can ask the question and point you in that direction if there's interest.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much, Roger. So Roger will be here for a few minutes. If you have any other questions for him in the chat and you want to drop those down. Thanks again. We really appreciate your time today, Roger.
Hey, thank you for giving me the platform, guys. You have a wonderful afternoon. I will stay on and answer as I go.
Thank you. Okay, now we would like to introduce Dennis Barisano. Dennis, I've known maybe 8 or 9 years now, I think, Dennis.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So Dennis has been with Randstad SourceRight for 6 years and is currently supporting the Ball account. He began his career in recruiting in 2002 at Monster.com in Maynard, Maryland, and relocated to Arizona in 2006. Dennis graduated from Ottawa University in 2014 with a degree in HR management, and he is the author of The Ugly Truth in Recruiting, Rethinking Your Recruitment Strategies. Please help me welcome Dennis. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Jessica. And thank you everyone for joining and listening to Cary and Roger and other speakers. Just Career Connectors, as Jessica mentioned, I've known Jessica for about 8 or 9 years, and the work that they do trying to help people who are impacted by the loss of a job or trying to advance their career has just been amazing. So I'm very blessed to know her and her family and be part of this. So thank you. Just to correct you, I am from Massachusetts, but that's okay. And I relocated out here in 2006 and haven't been able to shovel any sunshine, which is amazing. So I've been with Randstad for about 6 years, and it's provided me the opportunity to be able to work with many different companies. So the division that I support internally is the RPO. And for those of you unfamiliar, there are companies that outsource all of their recruiting functions to organizations such as Randstad. So one of the accounts that I'm working with is called Ball, and they have locations spread out across the United States. But specifically, I'm talking to you about the opportunities that exist within Arizona, Glendale area. There's one in Goodyear, and there's also a Phoenix location, but the Glendale facility is brand new. It just opened, and they're looking to be able to staff that with some skilled workers, if you will. But if there isn't something here for you and you do want to reach out to me, I will encourage you to connect with me, either email or LinkedIn, whatever your pleasure, because I'm connected in almost every industry, which is a benefit. So speaking about Ball Corporation, they employ about 18,000 people worldwide. They're headquartered in Bloomfield, Colorado. And I'm having trouble advancing my slide. Can someone advance it? There it is. Yes, thank you. And they manufacture metal packaging for beverages. Aluminum cans specifically is one of the big ones, and that's what that facility is going to be doing in Glendale. So beer cans, soda cans, all of that. And they're connected with multiple different industries, as well as government entities. The first position that I'm going to talk to you about is an industrial electrician. It's somebody who's been working in a commercial, but specifically someone that's very familiar with setting up and the electricity for machinery, power, lighting, controls, programmable logic, that sort of thing. So if you have experience in that type of industry, this would certainly be an opportunity that you may want to take a look at. I will say this, if anyone does apply for any of these positions, I want you to specifically reach out to me as well. I do not want you to feel like you have gone into a black hole, because that is certainly something that can happen when you apply. It always feels like that when you apply for something and you don't hear, no one has looked at anything. I operate very differently. I want to make sure that people that I speak with, or especially in an event such as this, that they feel, candidates feel that they can come back to me and they can get an answer as to where they are in the process. So it's an open invitation to anyone. The next position that I'm talking about is a product technician. If you have that that mechanical inclination, if you've worked on machines or lawnmowers or engines or in the aerospace industry, anything, this is certainly a position that I would want to talk to you about. Ball specifically is paying $26.59 per hour for this particular position. It's a 24-hour operation. We're doing, anybody that does apply for this position, again, I want you to reach out to me. If you know somebody that would be qualified for this position and is looking, please feel free to give them my contact information. We're doing virtual phone interviews this week. And then as long as you are qualified for this position, then we're going to be scheduling you immediately to speak with one of the hiring managers. And again, this will be virtually. And those interview dates are going to be the 19th, 20th, and 21st of next week. This is the bulk of the positions. They're actually looking to fill about 20, though I do feel that they're going to increase the amount of positions that are available. So if you've got that technical background that you can fix things and work on things, please reach out to me. Even if your resume isn't geared towards that, but let's say you just have a knack for that sort of thing, I can help you showcase that, or I can screen you and vet that information out of you and present you back to a hiring manager in a more positive light. Oh, it went away. There it is. Thank you. The next position that we're looking for is a storekeeper. So somebody that can keep everything straight. I'm used to be in the United States Coast Guard, and storekeepers kept us very much in line. They not only did they help with paperwork and making sure that we had enough food and every supplies on board our ship, they are vital to any organization, especially a manufacturing organization. So this particular position pays $29.61. By and large, Ball pays better than other manufacturing organizations that exist within the Valley. Specifically Honeywell, I believe we're a little bit north of what they pay for similar type positions. I do apologize that I don't have the industrial electrician pay rate, but you can see these positions are a little less skilled. So I'm making the assumption that the electrician would be higher in rate. I just don't know where. I wasn't able to get it. But if it is something that you're qualified for and want to reach out to me for, by all means, and as you go through the process, we would obviously be able to provide that information for you. Most roles, as I said, most roles start out over $20 per hour. We do offer the full gamut of medical, dental, vision, flexible spend accounts, 401k, all of those things that a large organization would provide and more. And one thing that really stands out to me about Ball is new employees are eligible for benefits day one of employment, which is a little unique. Most organizations have that 30 and in some cases 90 days before any of your benefits start to kick in. So day one, you're eligible for benefits with Ball. I'm listing the lead recruiter's contact information there as well. Steve Williams, he's local as well to Glendale. He's actually on site, whereas myself, I'm in Queen Creek. So I'm an hour away from the facility, but I'm very much involved with the recruiting for this particular position, especially with the hiring event going on next week. So again, I want to thank Career Connectors for inviting me to speak to all of you this morning. It's rough out there, but it's very encouraging to see that there are a lot of companies that are hiring. And in some cases, it could be an opportunity for you to move into a completely different industry. So maybe it's opportunity instead of tragedy.
Hey, Dennis, so you're working with you're with a staffing firm, but you are hiring direct placement for Ball. So these will be Ball employees. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%. So none of this is temporary or contract work. I am not a headhunter. That's one of the things that is very different about me. So I work off of the salary. I function as a corporate recruiter, but the only difference is my paycheck is signed by someone at Ronstadt and not Ball.
Okay. Thank you so much. So Dennis will be here for a few minutes. I see some people saying they're going to also be reaching out to you on LinkedIn. But
yes, please.
So if you can watch the chat and see if there's if you have any questions for Dennis, he will be around and can answer those. Thank you. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to switch over to our final hiring company of the day. Ed has worked with the Division of Developmental Disabilities for almost 5 years. He started in Family and Community Resources, State Outreach Coordinator, and is currently the DDD statewide site HR recruiter. Originally from Michigan, he has lived in Arizona for 20 years, and Ed's passion is to assist individuals with developmental disabilities and those that want to work with those individuals. And today he is here with us for, representing the DES, Department of Economic Security, who is crazy out of control busy right now. So will you please help me welcome Ed Schomer to our event today. Welcome, Ed. Let's unmute you. There we go. Try now.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Hey, if we're all over the US, we've got to make sure that we're hitting all of our time zones. So I'm grateful that you guys are all listening, and hopefully, I always encourage people to move to the state of Arizona because we are the Department of Economic Security, and I'm identifying more with the Division of Developmental Disabilities. We serve those that have a diagnosis of either autism, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, and an intellectual disability from birth to earth. So we are assisting those individuals, our vulnerable population. Hold on. Oh, there it is. Sorry. Just waiting for it to click. My bad. I already skipped ahead about myself a little bit there for what the Division of Developmental Disabilities, who they serve, individuals from corner to corner in the state of Arizona. There is a Division of Developmental Disabilities in each state of Arizona, or in each state of the US, but we want to make sure that it does not transfer from state to state, so you'll have to reapply for those individuals that are moving to the state of Arizona. And currently DDD is serving over 40,000 members in our great state of Arizona. Let's see, so a little bit about DES, which is the Department of Economic Security. We also love to use acronyms, so I'm going to try not to use acronyms while I speak because there's a lot of them, and even in each department within the Department of Economic Security, there are acronyms that if you transfer from one department or one division, you still may not be knowing what acronym we're using. But there's 5 divisions within the Department of Economic Security. There's the Division of Aging and Adult Services, there's the Division of Benefits and Medical Eligibility, Division of Child Support Services, Division of Employment Rehabilitation Services, Division of Developmental Disabilities. So I will touch base on a couple of them on employment opportunities. But as I repeat myself, you can always go to the azstatejobs.gov website to see all of the opportunities that you could work for within the state of Arizona. If it's Department of Corrections, Department of Education, Department of Health Services. But we really want, because obviously this is why I'm here, would you like for you all to work for the Department of Economic Security? And also a little more specific, Division of Developmental Disabilities. So everyone loves to be a government employee. A lot of times they're like, oh, the pay is not always that great as the private sector, but I will tell you the benefits overall are phenomenal. So as you can see as displayed, we have many different opportunities of our benefits. Our paid time off, yes, we have 10 paid holidays. There's 12 sick leave days, 13 vacation days. So right there, that's just to start off. That's 35 days off a year. Doesn't it feel great to take off the month of February and the first week of March? Not a lot of people can say that unless we're in the education field, where I've come from. But that also increases throughout the time. So our days per year, so if you work less than 3 years, you have those vacation days of 13 days. But when you reach the over 3 to 8 years, it increases up to 18 days a year. And then once we hit that 9-year or more mark, it goes up to 21 days. So if we can do the math, we're going to enjoy some time off when we can have a little vacation away from all of the craziness. Retirement, we also have an ASRS, which is our Arizona State Retirement System. You will automatically be enrolled in that after 6 months of employment, unless you are already a prior state employee, then it would be immediately withdrawn from your paycheck. It's a 12% deduction, but the state also matches 12% for your retirement. There's also a deferred compensation plan that we can make sure that it's voluntary, that you can select, but there's another retirement plan that you also will have. So knock on wood, I will hope that I receive my Social Security when I hit my Social Security age, but then I'll have a retirement and then also a deferred compensation. So there's definitely a lot of benefits on top of all of your insurances. There's wellness plans, there's education assistance plans, etc. So there's definitely a great benefit to work for the state of Arizona. Some of the opportunities for employment that we're offering right now, let me tell you, there are postings daily on the azstatejobs.gov website. Look through them. Make sure your resume is identifying for keywords. Individuals are reading these resumes, and we want to make sure we're looking at the keywords for those positions that you're applying for. Not all resumes are going to match that job, so you're going to have to tweak your resume to make sure that we're identifying the keywords that you have done in your past employment or current employment, so that we want to make sure that you are the right candidate to be selected for an interview. But in the meantime, here are some of our current opportunities. We have direct support professionals that are all over the state in the Phoenix area, Yuma, Tucson, Globe, and then the Coolidge, Florence area. So we want to really identify these are frontline employees also that are assisting our members, the developmentally disabled. There are 3 shifts, first, second, third. There is a shift differential for the second shift of 5% increase, and then there's also a 10% shift differential for your knock or your third shift, and that's your overnight shift. Once again, we have job IDs that are focused right there to help identify the position at the azstatejobs.gov website. There is a little box there that says job ID. You can type in that number and it will bring you directly to that position, so you don't have to scroll through and search for that position. But they are usually updated every month or daily, so please keep looking back. My contact information will also be on the email. On the last slide, please contact me directly, direct line and direct email, so I will be glad to assist you and point you in the right direction for if there's other positions that are available within the other divisions within the Department of Economic Security. Our case managers, you can see the list of job IDs that are offered throughout the whole state, from Flagstaff, down to Sierra Vista, Arizona, from Yuma all the way out to Benson, Arizona. So we cover everywhere. We need to make sure our membership is growing. Case managers, so there's 3 tiers for the case managers. The first tier is that if you have a degree in social work or a nursing as a registered nurse with no case management experience, you can be, you can apply, be selected for a candidate for an interview. The second tier is that if you have a degree in psychology, special education, or counseling with 1 year of case management, that will push you forward for an interview. And then there's the third tier, which is multiple years of case management with SMI, which is the seriously mentally ill or division or developmentally disabled individuals. So that is a great benefit for you to apply for case management. We also call them support coordinators. They are, besides our direct support, they are our heart and soul to making sure that our members are getting the right services in a timely manner. Another special interest position, we have a mental health specialist that has just been posted that I wanted to bring forward. These individuals will be obviously working in our group, one identified group home that will assist those 24/7 also, but they'll have a little more behavioral health background, along with having like the CPR, first aid, be able to obtain or have a level 1 fingerprint clearance card, have an Arizona state driver's license, and then must be over the age of 18, and that's the same for our direct support caregiver. So like I said, know your ID. It's best to write it down when you're going through. I know, even as an employee, I look through that list, and if I see a job that I'm interested in, I'll write the job ID down and then type it in, check it out, read it over. If it's for me, sure, apply. If not, then just move on, because it's best to find that interest and see if that you qualify for that position before you apply, because you could be screened out and then you would feel like, why am I not getting a call? By all means, you can always reach out to myself, my email, or my phone number.
Hey, Ed, I think one of the interesting things about the state of Arizona is that you actually do go through every resume and you read them.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's an analyst that is reading the resumes for that position. So you hear that, oh, it's being run through a computer for picking out keywords. That is false. We are reading every single resume that comes through to see for qualification to bring forward to a hiring manager for them to identify candidates to interview. So definitely, thank you for bringing that up. But yes, we are reading them. We are just not filtering through a machine and having that kicked out or being accepted. Even for myself in the screen, that is a small slide. So I'm sorry if you can't read that, but it was going through the whole process of, you're going to the AZ State Job website. You'll see a position and you can see where it says Adult Protective Services Investigator. They're actively hiring right now also. There's customer service positions that are available. The APS investigator falls under the Division of Aging and Adult Services. We really want to make sure that we're identifying, candidates that are going to be assisting our basically adult investigators. So you want to go on the website, azstatejobs.gov, check out the job ID, read it all the way through. You want to make sure that you're looking at dates. Some positions may have a start date. I'm just going to give example of 5/1 to 5/5. That close date will be 5/5. So if you're thinking about applying, make sure you don't wait, because then once it closes, it's done, unless they reopen it. But there's also some close dates like that will be open for a whole month. and then they may reopen the following month. So just make sure you're very aware for those postings. And then you'll also see salaries. Some will be hourly, but we're trying to be more consistent on making sure that we're doing a start and then a finish. So you'll see those salary, I don't say adjustments, but the ranges. Again, always contact us no matter what. We can always help you out. Oops. So you can also follow all of our social media on Facebook, LinkedIn, all that good stuff. You can see the official Arizona DES, AZDES Careers, or Arizona Department of Economic Security, or you can really reach out directly to myself. It was brought forward to make sure that my email address, that is an L, and then my last name, Schomer, at azdes.gov, and then my phone number is 602-542-6836. By all means, please reach out and we will make sure things are taken care of for you. So
Hey, Ed,
yep.
What is the normal hiring process or length of time? Do you have a normal?
Is there a real normal? And I'm not even just saying that for the hiring process. So it depends on the position. And it's also what I've learned over the years of working with the division and now with HR is that if the candidate is really working with the recruiter or the analyst, because there's things that we need to make sure that are being filled out. So if there's a fingerprint clearance card, if you do not have a fingerprint clearance card, it could take an additional 2 weeks just to get that piece of it. So it really, really depends on if you're filling out all of your paperwork thoroughly, completely, like there's a page that needs to be notarized. On those lines, we have up to 45 days, but we don't want 45 days. We can get people hired within 2 weeks. It just depends on the process and that position, and definitely the teamwork that we're working and collaborating with each other as the candidate and the analysis.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We have a couple individual questions. You might want to jump in the chat and see if you can respond to those.
Yep.
Thank you so much for being here today, and thank you for all your work and with DES and DDD. We appreciate you.
Hey, you're more than welcome anytime.
All right, I'm going to go through a couple things here at the end. And while Ed is on the line, I just want to mention that about the unemployment. We're getting a ton of questions on unemployment. For anyone who is 1099 or employed or the PUA website launched and is available. It launched early this morning, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. And so, Julia, if you can get that URL and pop it into the chat, great. There you go. She's already on it. So if you applied for unemployment and were essentially said you didn't make enough money or you had a wage issue, but you're a 1099, a contractor, self-employed, also people that went from full-time and lost hours, you can go out to this website and update or put your application through again. There's a contracting company that came out and got the systems up and running. So that's the additional $600 a week. They're also providing, and which was new to me, there's a range of $117 to I think $240. That's a base that you also get on top of that $600. If you have applied a while back and hadn't gotten anything yet, they're sending checks out this week. They've already started sending out checks, and the amount that they're sending out first go around is 3 weeks of unemployment for $117 plus $600, which is $2,151. So those checks are going out this week, and we'll pay for 3 weeks of unemployment. And then to get the additional weeks, the additional pay, and also currently continuing to apply, you need to go out to the Pandemic Unemployment Application website and get your application in there. That's a quick update. Again, that just went live this morning. All right.
Hey, Jessica.
So, yes.
Just a quick thing, because I know that a couple of different conversations included in the last half an hour or so included the idea that if you want to connect with our speakers on LinkedIn, and I forgot to mention this and want to make sure that everybody remembers this, that if you're connecting with somebody that you've heard today or just in general, again, it's about maintaining those genuine connections. Make sure you put a personalized invite for your LinkedIn connection so that you say, I heard you at Career Connectors. This is, I'd love to connect here on LinkedIn. Just take that extra second, because that way when people, especially folks who today ended up being in front of a larger group of folks, that way it helps them understand what your connection is and why it is that you're interested in being connected. So just a little suggestion to make sure that those genuine connections remain.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. I also, just to go back to the unemployment thing, put another URL in there, and that's specific to the pandemic unemployment application. So there are two links we have. The link from Julia will get you to the main site for everybody. And the link that I gave you, PUA site, will get to the link for people that have are 1099, self-employed, anyone covered by the CARES Act. Okay, Roger, did you have a question, a comment?
I just wanted to thank everybody on the call. I've got a blow up of LinkedIn, and I just didn't want to thank anybody. I wasn't watching them. I'm answering them all. The quantity was pretty substantial. So if you haven't heard from me today or by tomorrow, just reach out with another message, guys. I'm really passionate about some of these great comments you guys have all done. I will do everything to mitigate what I can for you. I just didn't want anybody to think I was ignoring them. I'm not. I'm accepting as many as I can, but only so fast I can type.
That's awesome. Thank you, Roger. Appreciate that. Okay, more things here. We are working with, we have a Career Connectors Academy now. And so if you are currently in transition, and even if you're not, it is a great time if you're able to be at home to take some online training. Some are at no cost if you get approval through the Workforce Investment Act, which the Academy will help you do. These are IT trainings, there's Microsoft trainings, there's a whole bunch of different kinds on there. And then some are fee-based if they're not covered under that grant. All right, so I have a couple more things I want to go through as we close down today. We'd like to get some feedback from you guys today. So we're going to do a couple questions. You see a box popped up on your screen. If you could just answer that, know about the registration process, about our speakers. So go ahead and answer those questions as they're popping up. As you answer them, go away. All right. Also, I want to mention to you guys, I've been asked to do a interview today about jobs, economy, unemployment, etc. with Channel 12. So I will be live at 12 and 12:30. Would love for you guys to join us on that. And they're asking questions. Viewers are submitting questions this week, and so I believe they're allowing people to continue to ask questions. We are also doing an interview with Christine Mackey. She is the Director of Development with the City of Phoenix, and that will be on Friday at 8 a.m. I think it's 8 a.m. And we will be live on our Facebook feed, and we will also post that on our website afterwards. But we're going to be talking about what the City of Phoenix is doing to help revive jobs, bring jobs back, what we're doing for people that are in career transition, those kind of things. Okay, the page that is showing right now is a website created in conjunction with Best Companies AZ, a ton of resources. But one that's really important for you is we have talked to over 65 companies that have verified jobs that are hiring right now. And so go on to that link, click on hiring, and you can see verified. And then towards the bottom of the page has additional partnership we have with Area at Work, where they have verified companies as well. So you can find over 200 companies that are hiring right now. And we encourage you to take a look at that site. All right, then we also have some additional resources for you. Go out to our website you can take a look at, take our assessment. It's not ours, it's Top Talent Consulting is offering this to you at no cost. And so you can assessment, find a little bit about your work style, your commute style, talking about today. It is no cost to you. We also have an event recap blog. So we will post the full event today, but we also have content written up on our blog if you'd like to reference any of that information. You'll see all of our social media sites at the bottom here. We are trying to get as much content as we can on LinkedIn and Career Connector, or Facebook especially. Those are the two we're using the most, but we have all four of those platforms. All right, so this is an exciting program we have launched. We are doing a virtual coaching program that is no cost. We have had professional resume writers, career coaches, LinkedIn coaches step up and offer these services at no cost. So you can get time one-on-one with some of these folks. We have LinkedIn review, resume review coaching. We have a finance coach. If you're ready for an interview and you want to do a mock interview, if you want someone to like look at your screen and say, hey, is this appropriate? How am I coming across? Just go to that website right there, careerconnectors.org/coaching, and we'll connect somebody, our coordinator, and she is connecting people together so that you can be supported and you can do a phone call with them. All right, here we go, our upcoming events. So we have Master the Video Interview with Gloria Peterson next week on May 20th. I can't believe we're already on May 20th. Then Hacienda Healthcare, Charles Schwab, and TGen are the hiring companies right now. And then on May 27th, don't miss Bridget McGowan. She's amazing. How to show up and show off when you just want to shut down. And then we'll have Claire Vaught, they're new. I don't know them yet, so I'm excited to hear about them, additional companies that are hiring. And then Brenda Ham does a phenomenal topic on tackling obstacle course, age, race, and gender. So she's handling some of the tough topics when it comes to job search. And join us on June 3rd. And again, then also, I wanted to let you guys know we have another panel interview on Thursday, May 21st, and that interview will be on LinkedIn. And so we're going to have 3 LinkedIn experts moderating, and we'll be talking about how to use LinkedIn, make the connections, and really how to best get your pro in front of hiring companies. And so I hope you'll join us for that, and that will be on Facebook Live and also posted on our page later. All right, if you have not, if you did not register, or if you registered for the event today, then you will start to get emails from us on Monday mornings around 9 a.m., 10 a.m. Those emails will tell you, what the event is for that week, and we'll give you some other resource information. If you did not register for today's event and you just found the link and you joined us, then we don't have your email, and so we can't send you this information. So you can sign up for our email updates right there on our website, and you'll see subscribe or updates on the right-hand side, and you can click on that and fill your information in. And then we also have a lot of the content we're trying to create and provide to you. We have 3 different ways we're doing that. Almost about daily, I put out a career chat. I did not do it this week because I was in Sedona and I had a mental health day. I needed a break. You did not get anything Monday and Tuesday, but they'll start back up today. But those are almost daily. I do a lot with unemployment in there or some search tips. And then the middle section is the community interviews and panels that we're doing. We're doing them almost weekly. We have people in there that have done own their own businesses, DES, Goodwill in their resource. And then the third section is our webinars. So these events, I posted all of the ones that we have done there. So you can check those out. We also want to thank all of our awesome volunteers today. Julia is the one that's been helping us on the Zoom call. Connie is doing our blog today. And then there is just a plethora of people from the Resume Writers Council of Arizona to coaches, career coaches, LinkedIn coaches that are providing a tremendous value to people in those one-on-ones. Thank you, volunteers. We couldn't do this without you. We are so appreciative. Okay. So that's what we have for you today. Feel free to engage with us again on LinkedIn, Facebook, the social media platforms. If you have any additional comments, information you would like, companies you would like for us to bring out to these events, please email us. You'll see the email right there, contact@careerconnectors.org. And we are thankful you guys are here with us. Thank you for your flexibility and joining our events. And just want you all to know we are praying for you to land into the career of your dreams. Thanks for being here today.